All right, here I am, hanging out at the beautiful gardens and a crystal clear blue sky day at RSA 2025. And Ray, I feel like we do this every year, and we wrap up. We do, I don't know, we do something.
Yeah, and I will tell you, this is my favorite venue so far. We normally meet like under an escalator in the basement.
That's true. That's true.
This is much more pleasant.
Yeah, this is much more pleasant. It's actually nice, and we're not being accosted by anybody. This is nice.
Yet.
So, the podcast is young. All right, introduce yourself for people that don't know you.
Ray Canzanese. I work at Netskope, and I run the Netskope Threat Labs. We're the threat research team.
So, what's new, Ray?
What is new? I mean, there's always something new, right? This year's something new is last year's something new, right? It's AI again, right? That's the what's new. And I think the what's new is that there's a lot more startups upstairs, right? A lot of companies I never heard of that I get to go check out, see what they're doing, right? See how they're differentiating themselves, right? They managed to get that VC money.
Yeah,
right?
that's sweet VC
money.
What is
that special sauce that they had? It's always for me the most, I mean, other than meeting with you and all my other friends, that's the most exciting part of the conference.
For vendors, I feel like this is actually for a lot of when I was here an attendee rather than a vendor. This was a lot of like just social time. You go meet up with people you haven't seen in a while.
Totally, yeah.
And every once in a while, you kind of looked around and went, "Yeah, still disappointing." Go back to your friends.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's here, right? Like this conference is a gathering of people. So just for me, it's meetings all day, and then usually fun meetings all night.
Yeah. I like how you put that, fun meetings.
Yeah.
I'm going to start penciling that into my calendar next year is fun meetings.
Fun meetings, right? Yeah.
After 6 p.m., all fun meetings. That's all that's all that's allowed. So I took a walk, and maybe I'm just getting old and just grizzly, but I was kind of disappointed this year. I feel like there's less people. It feels like there's the floor is lighter. There's not as many people walking around.
I actually feel like yesterday it was the most people I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, maybe.
And today's a little lighter. I think we all had too many fun meetings last night.
That may be entirely possible. So we had puppies last year. We've got puppies and goats this year. I'm curious let's make a prediction. What's the next animal we're going to get?
I think we've decided it's pigs.
Pigs, yeah.
I think that it's no doubt. I mean, pigs are wonderful creatures, right?
Yes.
They're like dogs. They taste good, right?
And that's not the dogs, the pigs.
Right. It's an upgrade over dogs. Yes.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be funny. Oh, good Lord. How do I get away with this? Anyway, you're right. There's a lot of AI stuff going on. I'm actually a little surprised because I expected, like XDR a couple of years ago, I expected every booth to say now with AI.
Right.
That didn't happen. So I'm not sure if I'm pleasantly surprised or mildly annoyed, somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think that I was pleasantly surprised, right? Like, I want to hear about what you're actually doing, not that you're using AI to do it, right? Like, whether or not you're using AI doesn't matter if you're solving problems for me.
Yeah.
So tell me the problems you're solving. And the AI messaging that I saw was mostly about AI problems, right? And solving those.
That's true.
And that was really refreshing. It made consuming all of these, marketing messages a lot easier.
Yeah. That's the one thing that's consistently been bad about. I don't think it's just our industry, because I watch TV and I see advertisements that if I took away the graphics, like you had no idea what that ad was for.
Right.
But I feel like even with the graphics, sometimes here, we walk around, you're like, okay, I read your booth, I read the highlight, the big thing you wanted me to read. What the hell do you do?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's somewhere between everybody needing to feel like they need to differentiate, but also sound the same by using the same words. It's been very. Like, if I'm a customer, I complained about this a lot. If I'm a customer, I'm looking at some of these booths and I'm thinking, I want to give you money, but I'm not sure what I understand what it is that you do.
Yeah, and it's so important to get to that what you do, like in your booth graphics,
right?
Because if you don't, I'm just going to go look at the next booth, right?
Yeah.
How many vendors are here? By my count, I think it was 1.5 million, right? I mean, you just can't, like there's not enough time to stop by everyone where you're not sure what they're doing and ask.
Yeah.
But the ones that got that messaging to me, I talked to everyone, right? Hey, this is something that I'm looking to partner with or purchase or use, and it works if you get to that point. If you hit me right with the words I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And it wasn't AI powered, right? Like that was never it.
I think maybe we got the message on that though. I think that's like the industry may have gotten that message, like stop putting the word du jour all over your booth, even though like, you're a EBA tools, you're not XDR, stop making things up, although I guess that's their job.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can always redefine the term, right? They were all made up,
or you make up a new one.
Language is fluid, right? Words change meanings over time.
Or you make up a new acronym or that means something to, then you're the best of breed because there's only one of you.
That's always a good strategy.
I've always wondered how everybody is the best of breed or everybody's the market leader. Like what markets are we in here?
You narrow the market down to what it is you do best.
Right.
Like that one thing you do really good, and now you're the best of breed in that, right? We're talking about marketing here, right?
That's true.
We're not talking about third party independent validation of claims.
We've tried that in this industry and that didn't work.
Yeah.
Hey, so what's new in the world of in your world, like in the threat world?
What's new?
Research?
To some extent, like nothing's new in the threat world, right? Like we're still dealing with ransomware. We're still dealing with the infiltration vectors being, nothing had been patched in a few years.
10,000 years,
So like a lot of the same problems we've been dealing with for like, I don't know, ransomware is like 20 years old now. They're all still there. Geopolitically, nothing's really much different either, right? It's the same
year over year
adversaries that were the most active ones we were talking about last year. It's the same this year again. We do see some interesting stuff. I feel like info stealers are making a comeback.
Oh, that's a good play.
Yeah, I've been seeing, a lot of info stealers lately where the goal was never ransom. It was just to take what they could. I've seen that. We've seen that used for espionage. We've seen it used for, financial fraud. That seems to be a popular play. We're seeing a lot. We're seeing a lot less of like conventional malware downloads.
Okay.
Like when I started doing this forever ago, you were just looking at malware downloads, right? How do I get this person to download some malware, Trojans or whatever, right? We're seeing a lot more like HTML smuggling, and the more sort of like...
That's a fun term,
exotic stuff. Oh, and it's so fun too. It's so fun to play around with. If you've never spent a few hours playing around with some of these bypass vectors, it's just so cool how it works. You can just watch that malware flow in as like an image, and all of a sudden, it's downloaded on my machine. Thank you, JavaScript.
That is an awesome feature. I've always wondered why, the explosion of JavaScript in everything. I think we jumped the shark when PDF files decided they needed JavaScript to run. I was like, wait, I'm reading this. What is it that you're JavaScripting in the background?
At least it's JavaScript everywhere. We didn't have to learn too many things.
That's fair. Well, now there's 7,000 new languages and abstractions, right? So, are we seeing anything interesting with the return to office mandates and pushes? Because I know some companies are being asked, they're asking their employees to go back to work, and some of these people have been working. I'm doing air quotes. You guys can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes. Working from home.
Yeah.
Your home network is not always the cleanest place, and then you go back into an office. Like, is that impacting anything?
I mean, from a Netskope perspective, we've been always enabling remote work and providing the same security controls no matter where you are. And so from that perspective, nothing really looks different from us, right? Like we'll see traffic coming through our network from different sources now, right? More IPsec and GRE traffic as opposed to to, Netskope client traffic and enterprise browser traffic, but that shift for us doesn't mean anything to the security posture of those customers.
Is the enterprise browser like I just started here, man, I heard about it before, and like, oh no, that's going to catch on. Boy, what do I know? Clearly not a lot.
Right.
But it's like, are you guys seeing that pick up as well, the use of that?
Yeah, that's picking up. Where that tends to be most popular is when you're talking about like contractors and non-employees that you want to give access to sensitive things, right? And
fair enough.
You're not going to convince a lot of times people to go and install like an agent that's going to look at all their traffic. But if all you needed was to give that contractor access to a couple of things, the enterprise browser solves that nicely. This was enterprise browser. That was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that was the hot topic here. So many new enterprise browser vendors. Yeah, so I imagine we'll start seeing consolidation on that soon, right? But yeah, it's really taken off. Really gaining in popularity.
So you're an observer like myself. Are you seeing? You mentioned consolidation. It kind of triggered my brain. I've been saying for years that like we're due for a fairly significant collapse in the number of vendors that we have. I've been consistently wrong.
It's because there's too much VC money, right? How are we gonna condense if we're constantly creating more and more vendors, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So there is a lot of consolidation, right? You see so many M&A, so much M&A activity, right, every year. But you also go and you watch all those new startup sandboxes, and you're like, oh, this is cool, innovative stuff, right? And so, luckily the venue is only as big as it is, right? I don't think we could squeeze more vendors in here.
They'll try. Don't dare them. They'll try.
Next year there will be a booth right here where we're sitting.
Right. Yeah. There'll be booths out here. Exactly. Look, it's always interesting because the big companies, their trials are that they can't innovate fast enough. They're not, so you got to go out and the innovation happens in the little, the corners, right? The little ideas.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's very interesting to me that it's so hard to turn. I have this idea for this one thing. People turn that into a company and trying to go kind of launch that off on its own rather than I need to go figure out where this belongs.
Right.
I got in trouble a couple of years ago because I was at Gartner and there's a booth and there's a gentleman that was very proud of his creation. I simply asked him, he's like, okay, I'll tell you about what we do. I said, well, I'm actually have a question for you. I said, I'm very interested in knowing who you're trying to sell to. He's like, well, the enterprise CISO was like, no, that's not the question. Who's buying your company? Who are you pitching yourself to?
Yeah.
And he just looked at me, he goes, no, this is a standalone product. I said, that's adorable. But you do 1/50th of what an email security solution is going to be, right? What are you going to pitch this on your own? I don't understand. Maybe, okay, but your TAM's kind of, is limited, and your buyers probably, this is the thing. This is what keeps me, what keeps me up. This is what keeps me engaged and annoyed at the same time. When coming back to this conference, is that there are so many things on that vendor floor, on the expo floor, that should work together that don't. Yeah. And then we churn out hundreds of new companies that also don't work with each other, or the old ones, or anything else in between.
Yeah.
And
it's usually the winners, right, that integrate with each other.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
you wait to find out who the winner is, then you do the integration, right? You don't integrate with the 100 new AI cybersecurity startups, right?
Yeah, you wait to see which one
wins.
Yeah, wins the market.
Yeah.
But then, so I was talking to a CISO, and he said, I like to buy all the innovators, all the small young companies, because I can help direct them, and I can I get essentially saying he's getting more pull. It's not as calcified kind of company, and I'm thinking to myself, but half of them aren't going to be around next year. What are you doing?
That's the risk, right?
Right. So it's a roll of dice.
Yeah. I mean, unless he's just really good at finding the winners, in which case
that's entirely possible.
In which case, follow him.
Right.
Yeah. No, you know where to invest now.
That's right. Yeah, I know exactly where to put my money.
Yeah.
That's interesting. With the you mentioned geopolitics, with the world getting a little squirrely, both from a smart people doing stupid things, world leaders not playing with each other nicely in the sandbox, and then the occasional tyrant deciding they want to invade other people's countries.
Yeah.
IT security has been and IT in general has been so dependent on this global supply chain. We got developers, we got support, right, in different countries. Is that you think that's impacting us at all?
I mean, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, no, right? Like, I don't know, the hot topic in the US is tariffs, right? Are tariffs affecting all of us SaaS cybersecurity vendors? No, right? Because we're not selling physical products across borders, right? We're selling services. So in that way, no, right? In other ways, yes, we have to purchase hardware, right? That is going to cross those physical borders.
Your cloud gets a little more expensive.
Right, yeah, the cloud, right. It is in fact somebody else's computer, and somebody else had to buy it, right? And so like that's going to happen, right? It messes up remote work a little bit, right? If you are trying to do business in countries that are now involved in active conflict, either with each other or with enemies or friends, it really complicates things, which I think we see that reflection, right? That instability all over the place, right? Especially if you watch the stock market, right?
Yeah.
You're
I try not to right now.
It's for your own sanity, right? It's nice to not look at that, but that's a nice. It's sort of like a measure of instability. So
it feels like cyber was stalling a little bit in the budgeting and purchasing kind of angle.
I think we had globally had some economic concerns.
That's what I'm saying. Right? It's like there seems to be a issue now with all the uncertainty that we've got in the global markets. Like companies are pulling back, and I mean, on one hand, no shit, Sherlock, right? Like, yeah, duh.
Try to save money everywhere you can.
Right.
But it's also not like going away, right? There's nobody that said we don't need to do cybersecurity anymore because the world's become a more unstable place than the economy sucks, right? It's kind of the opposite. Right?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's like, no, you kind of need to do more, but maybe be more strategic about it.
So that's becomes super interesting, because when companies, their budgets shrink, they have to spend less. They have to find ways to keep technology around longer, and yet the threats ratchet up during these times. So you've got these like opposing forces here.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, you also have, I think, right? At least I like to believe this, right? That in some ways, the cybersecurity vendors, right, many of them here at this conference, are not trying to go create more budget. Like they're not trying to create more costs for their customers, right? They're trying to do things like more efficiently, more effectively, in ways that will hopefully reduce overall cost for their customers, right? More automation, more intelligence, less manual work for people to do, which is still usually the most expensive thing, right? The labor that all of these companies are paying for.
I mean, I really want to believe that. Like, I really want to believe that, but I have never seen a shrinking budget in cyber. And I've never seen a vendor show up and go, okay, I'm going to show you how to spend less.
Right. Because it's usually spending less by consolidating, right? By having fewer vendors, fewer things to integrate, fewer people working on the integrations, right? It's that consolidation story again, right? You usually spend less when you're not paying a bunch of people for very similar things.
That's fair. Can you name a technology though that we've effectively decommissioned and said you don't need it anymore?
Like we don't use this anymore at all.
Yeah, like insecurity.
I mean, we have to go back like 30 years or something, right? But like stuff sticks around for a long time. I used to work at Lockheed Martin, right? Like we were working on like 30, 40-year-old hardware, right? Nothing really goes away, right? There's always use cases for that old stuff. Yeah. But I mean, you have seen shifts, right? You've seen shifts away from people buying VPN concentrators, right? You've seen shifts away from people buying physical firewall devices and racking up in their servers. Are they gone? No, by no means are they gone. But we're seeing those shifts, and that
the closest I could come up with was antivirus. Like antivirus didn't go away, but it's no longer really a state. Like nobody has an antivirus client anymore.
Right. You see, like everybody's got Windows Defender, right? It came with Windows, right? We've got EDR, sort of solving some of those antivirus challenges. But certainly AV is not what it was, 20 years ago.
Yeah, and DLP, maybe DLP.
DLP,
Is that still a thing?
DLP is totally still a thing, right? It's evolved a lot, right? We sometimes have to call it other things so that people don't get upset when they hear DLP. But is there anybody who's not worried about data security anymore, right? No. In fact, maybe data security is the number one thing you're worried about. So that's our bread and butter, right? At Netskope is data security. So that's probably the number one thing our customers come to us for. So by no means dead, but not what it was.
Yeah. So this is interesting because that kind of takes me to a thing I've been thinking about lately is we, as an industry, before we were a thing, we were as part of IT, security really cared about data, right? Ultimately, it was just data.
Yeah.
And we could point to it and say that 10 megabyte hard drive is sitting right there, right? And the data is right there.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like we missed the opportunity to secure the data itself because we said it's never leaving that system. I just have to secure that system and it'll be fine.
Right. I'll put a fence around that hard drive and
we're good.
We solved it.
And then you fast forward a couple of decades and now we're like, man, did we miss a boat at some point? Because now we've got all these data security companies that are popping up that are doing the thing or are promising to do the thing that like I had as a project in like 2001, like identify, classify, and name things.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
It back then it didn't seem like so big a deal, right? Because you could just build that fence.
Yeah,
and it's becoming more and more a big deal because we don't have any fences, right?
Yeah.
We've got data just everywhere, right? All these cloud apps that only you get value from if you send your data there, right? They've made things easier for us, right? But there's now data everywhere, right? Which is why you see so many data security companies, right? Why you see us working in data security, and then this whole AI thing, right? Where you've got just people scraping up as much data they can get their hands on, however they can get their hands on it, training these models, and it's like, okay, well now we've taken the data, we've put it into Blender, and we've got data soup coming out the other side, and so now you're wondering when that data soup comes out, well, where did it come from?
And how many ingredients did we mix up in the process?
Yeah. Were there ingredients we shouldn't have put in there? Right?
The answer is yes. Because if you're scraping the internet, you're getting a whole lot.
You're getting a whole lot of stuff you don't want. You're getting sensitive stuff. You're getting offensive stuff. You're getting illegal stuff, and it's all in your soup.
Make believe stuff.
Yeah. Plenty of make believe stuff.
I was having a conversation earlier today. I think we're going to do a whole podcast on this, but like there was a report done that somewhere near 50% of all internet traffic now is bots, or like basically non-human. And the conversation centered around, well, okay, search was a big deal, right? But search, when we did search, you got a bunch of results, and you could like pick which ones you wanted to go follow. When kids now are not searching, they're asking their AI
Kids these days.
Well, but they're saying, but you're getting tell me what the answer to this question is, and so you're not getting multiple results. You're getting an answer, which you have to like. They don't know, and it's the thing is nobody's questioning is because the technology knows it's got to be the right answer. And so I feel like we have an opportunity. And this is not a good thing, or not maybe we, but the collective world is an opportunity here to take advantage of this generation of folks that don't really question results and just do some horrible things with that. if we're not careful.
These are people that have always existed, though, right? It's not
Fair.
like all of a sudden kids these days aren't curious enough and aren't questioning things enough, right? I mean, we had the same problems in the past, right? Remember when Google was going to ruin everything? Because how is anybody going to be able to write a proper Boolean search anymore? Yeah. How are you going to go to the library and search that Dewey Decimal database?
Okay, but to that point, when that solar flare does wipe out all of our technology, there's going to be like 7 of us that know where to find things in the card catalog.
Yeah. I mean, yes. All of us doomers with our doomsday prep.
That's right.
Will be heroes as we always have been through the ages, right?
I think like the art of reading a map is a lost art. Like, who like seriously? When's the last time you went? Or anybody you know, right? When's the last time you know somebody that made a cross-country trek or a multi-hour journey using a map and not the one on your phone?
If you phrase it that way, I will say never, right? I don't know anybody who's done that. But if you're asking like who's actually had to use maps recently, I mean, I've been in national parks very recently.
Okay,
right?
fair enough.
How are you going to navigate a national park other than with the maps they give you, right? There's no cell phone towers in those big
No, but you can.
parks.
But those are downloadable offline maps. But your phone's got GPS.
Your phone's got GPS.
Hey man, I drove,
right? and you're carrying a car battery around with you to make sure it works the whole time.
Solar.
You're definitely not going to drop it in the creek, right? No.
Well, we drove.
I feel sorry for anybody who goes into the woods in one of these huge national parks and doesn't bring an old-fashioned radio and a map.
Yeah.
So again, not dead, just has very niche
on life support, on very significant life support. Like we drove the road to Hana in Hawaii, and like you have to download the map. And it gives you guidance along the way and tells you cool factoids, but like 90% of that route has no cell service.
Right, sure. But are you telling me that I shouldn't use my GPS? No, of course not.
Right.
Yeah, we've kind of gone off the rails here. But
we have. Were there rails?
Kids these days.
Were there rails? I missed it.
They're using those LLMs, and they're not thinking enough for themselves.
That's
right?
true.
I didn't think enough for myself when I was going through high school, right? Because Wikipedia was the new thing, and it was going to ruin everything.
Yeah.
Right?
I still have a set of encyclopedias.
Fun.
An old Britannica encyclopedia.
In your museum room.
Yeah, in my museum. Wow. Ouch. Okay. Listen, dinosaurs and I read them regularly. Okay. All right. Anything we should wrap up? Now we've totally devolved. See what I did there?
Cut that.
Any parting thoughts on kind of this year, looking into maybe next? Because I know some of us are already making plans for being here next year.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't already booked their hotel for next year, right? You've got to get the good ones. They're always filled up if you wait. Same with dinner reservations.
That's right.
But I mean, this is still a good place to come. There's a reason we're here every year.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say we're getting too old and tired for it. Maybe we'll stay home, but we always come. We want to learn about what's new. We want to meet with our old friends. We want to make sure we're forming partnerships where we can. It's not a big community, right? Cybersecurity is a pretty small community. It's important for us to work together. This is a great place for us to remind each other that we're all real people working toward a common goal.
We're not just
right?
AI on a Zoom call.
No, I mean, like, we're not just like, a Zoom call head or an email address or some abstract concept, right? I mean, many of us have worked together before. We'll work together again. Yeah. We're all friends. We're all doing the same thing here.
Well, it's good to have you back on the show. Great seeing you again here, and I'll probably see you next year.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Thanks, and folks, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.